Namaste, everybody. I'll just. My topic is Hindu innovation, creating tomorrow's entrepreneurs today. But before we begin with the topic, I want to quote something from Chanakya, and it's the most important thing and the most relevant quote to the World Hindu Congress and the World Hindu Economic Forum, which is going to begin from next year. And the quote is, Sukhasya moolam dharmaha, dharmasya moolam arthaha, arthasya moolam rajyama, rajasya moolam indriya jaya, which loosely translates to happiness is based on dharma, dharma is based on wealth, wealth is based on good governance, and good governance is based on control over the senses. And the reason I say this is that we've all heard of the narratives of the Hindu rate of growth, or that wealth is evil, you will have greed and you will lose your mind and you will not have control over the senses. But we must understand that wealth is not evil. And those who are wealthy set the global narrative. So wealth is something that must be sought out. In fact, our scriptures tell us to seek wealth, and then once you have wealth, do good work for dharma, isn't it? According to me, but I believe it's a fact, that entrepreneurship is the greatest form of wealth creation in the world, because most other forms of wealth creation are actually transfer of wealth or disbursement of wealth. While entrepreneurship is the only path where an abstract idea can actually transform into something worth $1 billion, employing thousands of people and having real impact on the maximum number of people's lives. Now, impact in any form has a heavy cultural connotation. So when the Western man is wealthy and when he has an impact on the Eastern men, the poor man's culture is destroyed either through force or through incentive. Which is why I've come to the fact that today we are all proud that so many global CEOs are Hindu, and as we should, but the global founders aren't. This is the 4 largest tech spaces today, and you can see the founders of all the company. None of them are Hindu or Bharatiya. And we must understand that all companies, the founders take the lion's share of the gains, whether it's listed, whether it's sold, acquired, merged, whatever it may be. But entrepreneurship, everyone talks about it. It's the toughest job on this planet, maybe after being a politician. And the most famous quote of entrepreneurship is that entrepreneurs can live some years of their life like others can't, so that they can live the rest of their life like others won't. But this quote has a heavy assumption that after living some years of struggle, you will face success, which is totally untrue. VCs around the world state that only 10 to 20% of startups are actually successful. But these are VCs, which means the startup actually reached the stage to raise capital. According to me, the number is below 1%, because most startups don't even reach that stage. And hence I remember Bhagwan Shri Parshuram's dictum, Nirbhayata Sarvatra. I live my life by this. You follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, anywhere, it's written everywhere. And this is the key of entrepreneurship. If you have seen, there was a famous OTT in India recently about the 92 stock market scam. It said, risk hai to ishq hai in Hindi. But that's what I'm talking about. However, even after you take the risk, success is not guaranteed. So what do? And then we remember our Priya Yogi ji, who said, Hindu kabhi nirashawadi nahi ho sakta, that a Hindu must never lose hope. And that is true. And that's when I came to this beautiful junction where we all know that determination and conviction definitely lead to success. But a very important element with that is flexibility. Flexibility to change. Okay, I have the end goal in mind, I want success, but the path I cannot be predetermined. I have to change with time. Our dharma has evolved with time. The Sangh has evolved with time, which is why it's not only existing but flourishing. YouTube began as a dating site. Netflix began as a DVD service. Canva, which just I think recently got acquired, began as a tool for making school yearbooks. The founders had the vision, but they pivoted along the way, and that's how they actually got the success. Now coming to my industry of Web3. Now Web3 is an industry spoken about a lot. When you type Web3, you'll hear about the $10 billion fraud by Sam Altman in the USA. And people have a lot of misconception about the industry, but I'm not here to clear those because you can read about it. But I'm here to explain why I believe that it's one of the most bullish industries to become an entrepreneur in. And I am from the industry, so if I talk to you about AI, it's not going to make sense. First of all, EDDAVerse, the company which I am a co-founder and I work in, is a leading IP holder, and I manage digital assets, which is investments in crypto in simple words, for people across the world. And I have seen why this is bullish, and the first reason is that to enter this industry, you don't need heavy qualifications or degrees or too much knowledge. There are a lot of jobs available or even startup ideas which don't require too much qualification. Secondly, G20, biggest thing for us. IMF and FSB created a paper which has created global regulations where every nation which is part of the Federal Assistance Task Force is going to be implementing these regulations locally within the next 2 years, which means from India to Suriname, we are going to have Web3 regulation all over. The largest asset managers in the world, like BlackRock and Fidelity, are all entering the world of Web3. In fact, all of them have applied for the ETF, which should get approved before January 10th. The companies which have entered are worth over $30 trillion in assets under management totally. So the total market cap of this industry right now is only 1.2 trillion because you're in a bear market. At peak, it was 3 trillion. A lot of bankers like JP Morgan are expecting it to cross 5 trillion within the next 3 years. And Cathie Wood, who is a very famous asset manager in the New York stock market, says that it can cross 20 trillion by 2030. So how do we gain exposure to this? How do we make money out of this? And how do we use that money for dharma? Now, if you want to use that money for dharma, there are hundreds of people who can guide you on that. I'm not going to go into that. But first, how do we get the money out of it? So these are the simple few ideas in my mind which are the easiest to implement with little work. And the first one being marketing. All you need is good negotiation skills. Web3 is decentralized and global. So if I do a startup from India, I would have to market it in China, Russia, Brazil. That means I need local languages, local Discord communities, local Telegram communities. So it's just hedging and it's negotiations. And there's an easy 20% net margin in these industries if you can do it well, if you can negotiate hard and you can fight the right people. Next, digital asset investment. There's only one way to do this: get your skin in the game, take some risk. I told you about Nirbhayata Sarvatra. Now's the time to bring out that inner Nirbhayata. Because you put some money in, you lose some money, you make some money, and that's how you actually learn. And you start tracking individual sectors just like how we track within the equity markets. There are sectors like DeFi, NFT, scaling solutions, Layer 1 blockchains, Layer 2 blockchains, gaming, and much more. All of them have the tradable assets on exchanges globally, so you take exposure and you find out. Then, if you do well, and you are at least doing it for 4 years, the reason I say 4 years is that it's the gap between two Bitcoin halvings, which is a technical concept I don't want to get into. But generally, we've seen that 2 years are largely bullish, 2 years are largely very bearish. So what happens during that time? If you learn that well, then you can actually have the courage to start managing people's money, which I do now. And I would just suggest start with your family or friends and people who trust you and people who can afford to lose money and who will not chase you if you lose their money. Lastly, sorry, not lastly, the next, which is the most profitable, but it requires the most skills, which is design. So if you have UI, UX knowledge, 3D modeling, 2D graphics, motion graphics, there's a lot you can do in the space. Firstly, in Web3, design is very industry specific. So any UI, UX designer from Microsoft can't be hired at a Web3 firm. You need Web3 specific knowledge. Secondly, the designers can actually help a lot in the front-end work, like actually working with NFT companies, with metaverse worlds, with Facebook or Meta, with blockchain gaming companies. And a step further is if you have your good community, if you're famous on social media, you can actually use your art and start selling it for NFTs. Not now, the market is very poor, but try in 6 months or so. Then development, of course, a lot of IT people, Hindus love engineering, but your engineering knowledge will not do enough. There are 2 languages, programming languages. The first one being Solidity, the second one being Rust. Very important to learn. If you learn these 2 languages, you will be able to code on almost any blockchain in the world. And the last one is if you are an avid traveler, if you have some spare disposable income, travel the world, attend Web3 conferences globally. India Blockchain Week in Bengaluru, Binance Blockchain Week in Dubai, Token 2049 in Singapore. All of these will help you build a very strong network. This industry is all about networking. I have friends globally and clients globally just due to this simple reason. And you can simply set up a consultancy where you connect people, power broking, earn a commission on every deal that you do. And I know people are doing this for a living, and they do 3 deals a year and they are set for the rest of the 12 months. So I have also extended my time by a bit, sorry about that. But I just believe that Web3 is a very big industry to enter bullish, with a bullish force if you have the ability to take risks. And you can connect with me on my social media. My LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter IDs are out there. And I'd just like to end by saying that when the intention is aligned with dharma, and I've experienced this in my life again and again, divine intervention always takes place. Sri Ram experienced this, Arjuna experienced this, Kushaal has experienced this, all of you have experienced this. So be like Arjuna, keep your focus on the target, let Krishna do the rest. Yato dharma stato jaya. Thank you.